Jamer here, and today we're going to be doing another review. Now, unfortunately, summer has been very, very dry. There hasn't been too many big game releases, the biggest one being Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, but unfortunately, I'm not going to be playing that. It's just not something I really wanted to get into, unfortunately. I love Elden Ring, don't get me wrong, but it's not in the mood to play Souls games, so I'm going to be skipping out on that, but I've seen so many awesome things about it, and it seems really great, so I'm super excited about it. But we're going to be giving a review on another DLC that released this summer, being the Shadow Drop of Alan Wake 2 DLC, Night Springs. You guys already know how much I love Alan Wake 2. It was my game of the year 2023 and is my third favorite game of all time. The more, like, some days I'm like, yo, it's like my second favorite game of all time. I just love the game so much, and so the fact that, number one, we're even getting DLC is an absolute blessing. Oh my goodness. And yeah, let's talk about it, because Night Springs is a 3-part DLC. There are 3 episodes to it, each episode ranging from like 40 to an hour, 40 minutes to an hour. I beat the entire DLC in like 3 hours, pretty much. But the thing is, while I'm taking this review in consideration, I'm thinking of multiple things. What does it add to the game? What did it do differently? What makes the DLC special? And then, of course, there is more DLC already confirmed to be coming out later this year, Expansion 2. So there's a lot of things to consider when playing this and when reviewing this. And so I'll go ahead and just get my thoughts of how did I enjoy the DLC, the 3 episodes. And I have to say, to no one's surprise, I absolutely loved them. I mean, it's just more of one of my favorite games of all time. How could I not? And I will say that they went wild with this DLC. There are so many things that are just, like, it makes, like, honestly, I thought the base game, Alan Wake 2, the base game, was just insane. Like, completely full of surprises. And they dialed that up to like 10 on this one. Like, there are some things that happen where I'm like, this is more trippy than anything in the base game. But what I will say is, I think, you know, if I was to compare this DLC to the base game, I do think the base game stomps all over this DLC, but I take that in the best way possible, because I am comparing 3-hour experience to a near 20-hour experience, and this is completely different than what the base game is trying to do. I think I'm gonna go ahead and say it. My rating for this DLC is a 9 out of 10, whereas I think Alan Wake 2 as a base game is a 10 out of 10, because when I look at it from a DLC, I don't think the DLC, you know, it's nothing groundbreaking. It's nothing that, if I was looking at this from the outside and I saw that DLC, I'd be like, yo, this is a reason I need to play Alan Wake 2. I see this DLC more as, yo, if I've played Alan Wake 2, I just get more of that, and that's awesome. Whereas if I haven't played Alan Wake 2, I'm like, oh, okay. Seems like Alan Wake 2. It wouldn't scream to me like, yo, I think I need to play Alan Wake 2 so I can play this DLC. No, I don't think it hits that way. The only way I could see that being the case is if you are a huge Control fan, which I know a lot of people are. Control is a great game. And one of the episodes is based on the Control character, Jesse. And I even have a friend who loves Control and who hasn't beaten Alan Wake 2, but he's like, maybe I have to beat Alan Wake 2 now so I can play that Control episode. But yeah, overall, I absolutely loved it. I think it brings in a bunch of neat and interesting ideas, fun ideas that I think they executed really well. I think it sets up Expansion 2 really, really well. I think it's a good follow-up to what the base game was. But I think as of, does it make the game better? I'm going to say no. But the game, I already see it as a 10 out of 10. So for me, I'm just happy we got more of it. But I think if, like, you're sitting at like a 9 out of 10 on Alan Wake 2 already, I don't know if it would boost that to a 9.5 or a 10 out of 10. Yeah, I think Expansion 2 could do that. But I think for what Night Springs is, it's just a really, really great addition to what's already a fantastic game. So let's talk about the actual DLC itself. what is it? So like I said, there are 3 episodes in the DLC Night Springs. The first episode you play as the diner waitress. I forget her name, but she was a really fun little character in the base game, and I think doing this, honestly, this is probably my favorite episode out of the 3. It was the weirdest, it was the most charming, it was the funniest, and I honestly think it was the most fun, like in terms of like gameplay and like what you actually got to do in the episode. Basically, you start out, you're talking to all these different, you're playing as a waitress in a lot of ways, and then something happens where Alan Wake calls for your help through like a fish or something, and then you go into the back room, you go into the diner storage room, and she's like, "Let me grab my my like tools or something like that." And she kicks open this locker full of shotguns, pistols, and ammo rounds, and you're just like, oh my. And she's like, I've waited my entire life for this. And then you get that, and then like rock music starts playing, and then you like leave the diner. Everybody's cheering for you, like, go get him, Tiger. And then you go, and then you just start shooting a whole bunch of monsters and everything. Bro, it's so fun. Like, it really, it really is just an episode that I'm so glad exists. I absolutely love it. That I actually replayed that episode. That's the only episode that I replayed. I do plan on replaying the other 2 as well. But oh man, it was so much fun. I absolutely loved it, and it has this fun little story where she's basically in love with Alan Wake, and that Mr. Scratch is like trying to impersonate Alan Wake, but she can tell every minor detail that he does differently, because she's like a stan of Alan Wake. And then you actually get a fight Scratch at the end. It's awesome. I absolutely love it. It was just such a blast. It was so weird though, because there's a lot of, oh my goodness, there's so many moments where it's just like, this is so stupid, but I just absolutely love it. Sorry, I dropped my fan right here. I'm trying to put it back. Oh my goodness. But yeah, absolutely loved episode 1. I forget what it's called, honestly. I'm doing this review June 28th, so I'm really late to this review. I played it the day after it was in. Like, the day it shadow dropped, I beat it. But, like, I'm doing the review late. Yeah, and then episode 2 is actually the Jesse episode. I figured the Jesse episode would be episode 2, but when I played episode 3, I see why. Jesse episode actually was probably my least favorite. I know that's kind of a shocker, because that was the one I got most excited for, and that was the one I was most looking forward to, and I think most people were. It was really cool, and I really liked playing as Jesse. We're back at the Coffee World, Coffee Land, whatever, the Coffee Amusement Park. We're back there, and we're basically playing as Jesse, trying to figure some stuff out, why she's there, trying to find people, and you have to go through the amusement park, solving a whole bunch of different puzzles. Very little combat, I would say. Like, it has very little combat throughout the entirety of the episode. It's mostly puzzles and exploring and story. And I think that does hurt it in the long run, just because it's harder to want to replay it. But there is one segment in this that absolutely stands out, which actually I would say is one of the strongest standout moments of the entire game, Alan Wake 2, not just the DLC. And that is when you enter a warehouse, you then have this amazing horror sequence where these giant walking coffees are basically trying to kill you, and so you have to like creep around this warehouse with these giant walking coffees, just like menacing, walking around, and you can't get caught by them. It really, I mean, it was scary. It actually scared me. Like, I was terrified, super stressed. It was awesome. That was easily one of the best moments of the entire DLC, but I think as an episode as a whole, it didn't quite deliver until the ending. The ending really was like, yo, what does this even mean? I'm not even going to go into spoilers, but they basically dropped some information that's like, theories are going to start running wild with the ending of episode 2, and I'll say that as much. Same thing with episode 3, though. I actually really loved episode 3 as well. Episode 3 is basically a multiverse episode where you're playing as the sheriff from the game, the one that disappeared into the Dark Place, and the one that you see in the Dark Place a couple times in the base game. You're playing as Sheriff Breaker, right? Or is that his name, Sheriff Breaker? I think. I don't remember. Sheriff something. This is super fun because you basically get this device which can teleport you to different multiverses or different universes within the multiverse, and you're playing as different variants or versions of this sheriff. You go into a version where he's in the 80s and he's in like this black and white hotel. You go to this futuristic place where you're like on the moon or something. You go to inside the woods. You go to inside the detective where you go to all these places. You go to the Warlandor area where you even see Sam Lake himself, not Agent Casey. You see Sam Lake himself with his awesome accent and everything, like directing a movie or whatnot, and you're starring in this movie. There is a lot of combat in this one. There is some puzzle solving in this one. This one I think is the quintessential Alan Wake like episode. I think it just delivers a more all-round episode. It is also the longest episode, and it delivers a lot of great story elements, which the ending and what this episode set up is what excites me very, very much, because where they're going with the story, Jesse is also in this episode, not as a playable character, but as a side character for what the story they are trying to tell. It sets up the next expansion to be pretty awesome and crazy, and I'm very, very excited to see where they go with this one. Basically, they introduce a big bad. Not introduce, they bring back a really big antagonist that everybody's now going after, and we kind of leave it at that. Very, very exciting stuff. I think all 3 episodes have their pros, and some of them have their cons. They're just really, really fun additions to what Alan Wake 2 is, and that's pretty much my review. Like I said, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I love that it's a thing. I love that it brought me more of what I already love. Super happy. I really can't complain. But that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Johnny Moore out. Peace.